Before you were old enough to understand what was happening to you, it was already happening. No announcement, no warning, just one ordinary day, you looked around and realized no one was steering the ship. And without anyone asking, without anyone giving you a choice, you picked up the wheel. You were maybe 6, maybe 8, maybe 10, but the age doesn't matter. What matters is this: from that moment forward, you stopped being a child, not because you grew up, but because someone else's inability to be an adult pulled you out of your childhood before you were done living it. And the worst part, nobody noticed, or if they did, they called it a gift. You're so mature for your age. You're the responsible one. They didn't realize they were handing a child the emotional weight of an adult, and you carried it, because that's what you learned to do: carry, manage, hold it together, keep the peace. But here's what no one tells you: that child you never got to put the weight down. You just got older, and the weight got heavier. Until one day something breaks. A panic attack hits out of nowhere. A quiet afternoon feels unbearable, and you don't know why. And you sit there thinking, what is wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you, but something happened to you. And today we're going to talk about what that was, how it shaped you, and how you begin to heal. There's a term psychologists use for what many of us lived through. It's called parentification. It happens when a child is placed, consciously or not, in the role of emotional caretaker for the adults around them. Maybe your parents struggled with addiction or mental illness. Maybe there was absence, instability, or just a quiet, constant tension, and you became the one who managed it. The peacekeeper, the one who read every room before entering it. Here's what's critical to understand. Children don't choose this. Their nervous system demands it, because connection to a caregiver is not a preference for a child, it is survival. So when a child senses that the adult they depend on is fragile or unavailable, their brain makes one calculation, not consciously, but biologically. I need to make this person okay, because if they fall apart, I have nothing. And so the child adapts. They suppress their own needs. They monitor the emotional temperature of everyone around them. They walk on eggshells, manage crises, perform stability they don't actually feel. When this becomes chronic, the nervous system stops learning that the world is safe. Instead, it learns the opposite. The world is unpredictable, calm is temporary, you must always be ready. This state is called hypervigilance, and it doesn't end when the childhood ends. It follows you into offices, relationships, and quiet bedrooms at 2 in the morning when you can't sleep and don't know why. Here's what makes this wound so invisible. The coping strategies children develop in these environments actually work. The child who is hyperesponsible gets praised. The one who never complains gets called easy. Every gold star, every "I'm so proud of how you handle things" told the child, this is your value. This is how you earn love. And slowly the mask stops being a mask. It becomes their face, their entire identity. But the real child is still underneath. Somewhere beneath the competence and composure, there is a kid who is exhausted, who never got to fall apart and be caught, who never got to say, I'm scared, and have someone respond with warmth instead of more weight. That child didn't disappear. They just went very, very quiet. Fast forward to today. The chaotic household is in your past, but the patterns are still running. Do you find it nearly impossible to ask for help? Not just difficult, but something that feels like a betrayal of who you're supposed to be. Do you overfunction in relationships, always fixing, managing, anticipating, while quietly resenting that no one does the same for you? Does rest feel like laziness? Do compliments make you uncomfortable? Do you carry a bone-level exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix? These are not personality flaws. These are the predictable outcomes of a childhood that required you to be strong before you had the tools for it. Your nervous system learned that love must be earned through performance, and those lessons are still running on autopilot, shaping your choices, your relationships, your sense of worth, often without you realizing it. The cruelest part, it hides behind achievement. People see someone capable and composed, They don't see the child still running behind the scenes, still waiting for someone to finally ask if they're okay. Healing is not an epiphany. It's not positive affirmations over a wounded nervous system. Real healing is slower, messier, and far more tender than most people expect. It begins with witnessing, stopping the habit of arguing with what happened, stopping the comparison of your pain to someone else's, stopping the sentence, "It wasn't that bad," that you used to avoid feeling how bad it actually was. What happened to you was real. The needs that went unmet for safety, for softness, for someone to simply show up, those were real, and they deserve to be acknowledged. Then comes the work of reparenting yourself, genuinely asking, what did I need back then that I never received? Maybe it was someone saying this isn't your responsibility. Maybe it was permission to not have the answer. Maybe it was someone who showed up for you just because you existed, not because you were useful. You begin to offer those things to yourself, not to rewrite the past, but to stop the past from writing your future. You didn't choose to grow up fast. That choice was made for you by circumstances, by adults who were supposed to protect you and couldn't. But here's what's true now: you have a choice. You don't have to earn your rest. You don't have to perform competence to deserve love. You are allowed to receive care without calculating how to return it. You are allowed to say no without the panic, to ask for help without feeling like a burden. You were never broken, but you are allowed to stop carrying what was never yours to carry. That self, the one who deserved softness and play and the unearned safety of simply being a child, that self is still in there, waiting with extraordinary patience, waiting for you to turn toward it and say, "I see you, I know what you went through, and I'm not going to leave you behind anymore." That is where healing begins, not with a breakthrough, but with one quiet, honest act of turning toward yourself and staying.